Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm thrilled to chat with writer and producer Paul Powell about his new Acorn TV series, Art Detectives. The show follows a team of experts uncovering the truth behind lost and stolen works of art, blending mystery, history, and just the right amount of drama. I was thrilled to talk with Paul about his background in comedy, what that brings to drama, what drew him to the world of art crime, and the challenges of making the detective genre feel fresh. It's a fun interview, and I hope you enjoy.
Les, how are you,
Hi,
mate?
Paul.
So here we are. I'm back to the mundane reality of London.
So if I'd had my ducks in a row, we could have just talked, last week when you were in the States. Uh,
We're busy. We were having fun.
with technology, it's convenient either way. Thank you so much for making time. I really appreciate it.
I'm very honoured you want to talk, frankly, and anything to promote the show is good.
Well, I just watched the first two episodes of Art Detectives, and I I like murder mystery shows or crime mystery shows. I think we all do. And they're so prolific now that I think more and more people are becoming aware of kind of the tropes that get to be played with in these. If you watch the Knives Out movies or Poker Face, you could see Ryan Johnson having fun with the history of murder mysteries and such. Uh, and so one of the things that I find remarkable about Art Detectives is that it doesn't so much easily fall back on the let's make the most curmudgeonly, no one can stand him guy on the planet, but he's just so smart we have to put up with it. Which
Yeah.
we all love Sherlock Holmes, but I don't know that that's the story for 2025. And I love that your main character, Stephen Moyer, gets to play a guy who is, hey, maybe he doesn't people the best, but it's out of a nerdy curiosity, like a true interest in things. And I think that that's a delightful take on that main character. And I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about how you set about to make the show or how this world kind of grew into place and what you were setting out to do, you and your writing partners, to make it work like this. Because the first two episodes are just adorable. It's so charming.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was good. I was always wondering if it would translate, because it is deliberately very British. We really set out to try and explore British countryside, British
Well, his
characters.
job can't even exist here. What's the Eddie Izzard bit? We get excited when we restore something to the way it was 50 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, okay, so a little bit about the show. So it came together really because we have an interest in murder mystery. And yeah, it's an exciting area to work. And we realized from plotting sitcoms that we had a good skill at narrative and twists. So we thought actually the ideal vehicle for that is a murder mystery where you're constantly, pushing and pushing, running a narrative, putting in red herrings, putting in twists.
Hmm.
So we thought it'd be a good vehicle for us. So we did make the switch, but we started developing this show quite a few years ago, and it took a while to get right. It was trying to find the right tone, the right subject matter. We didn't want to be too self-important and too pompous, and that's what we try to reflect in Mick. Someone who's an enthusiast, someone who has a real affection for his subject. Again, something that's different in murder mystery, not to play the curmudgeonly single man who, rejects the world. We wanted someone who, could bring through the energy for the audience at the same time using Shazia as the voice of the audience, someone who could ask the dumb questions, for want of a better phrase. What is that? What's it worth? Where's it come from? So I think they have this great dynamic where, in fact, while Mick is teaching Shazia about art, she, in fact, is teaching him about the world, about relationships, in particular with Rosa as part of our ongoing storyline. So they both learn from each other and they both grow through each other. So it's a great partnership in that respect.
And I love how he brings her on board by listening to her.
Yes.
That's just when you realize that no, her boss is about to uh, punish her straight away for no, I tried to tell you. What are you talking about? Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and then just like, no, you know what? There's a guy who appreciates me. This seems pretty interesting. I'm going to go work for a better boss.
But one of
Thought
the
that was a
things
really
that
neat
really
take.
what really drove the idea of Mick is that this is someone who can look at an art a crime scene in the way that you would look at a piece of art, the way you look at composition, where you look at symbolism, relevance, meaning, trying to tell what the narrative is in what you're seeing in front of you. So we had this idea that, this is what it's about detail for him. And in that way, he's always watching. He's watching people, he's watching the room. And that applies to Shazza as much as anything. He's watching and listening and observing all the time. And that's, again, why I think he works so well with Shazza, because he actually gives her attention.
Mhm.
He's trying to figure her out.
Uh, you've already touched on it a little bit, but I was interested in how you kind of brought comedy to drama. What comes first for you sitting down to write? Do you think this is a really clever crime? Uh, then let's add some jokes, or do you chicken or egg?
Well,
Which comes first there?
we really wanted this to be a drama first and foremost, but we realised our strength is comedy writers, and we wanted to bring a quirkiness to it. Because again, how can you refresh the murder mystery when it's 60, 70 years old, at least on television?
Hmm.
As a literary form, it's 150 years old. So we really wanted to bring something unique to it and something that made it different. So we thought, well, look, let's play to our strengths. We are comedy writers. And let's also just bring a bit of quirkiness to it. And again, that chimed well with the art world, where you do have eccentric characters, big characters, strange behavior, frankly. We are dealing with people who are obsessive, who are irrational. People who must possess.
Hmm.
They must have. They've got to collect. So we thought this was a good fix for us. But so we tried to make sure our story always was straight, true, honest, authentic, but we wanted the relationship to be fun. We wanted the relationship to Mick and Shazia to be warm and give it a heart, because of course you don't want to alienate people with millions of pounds worth of art and this highbrow, slightly faux, faux-faced environment. So we wanted them to keep it real and to be a point of connection for the audience. So we did give them nice bits of banter. We gave them good exchanges, a little bit of teasing, a bit of affection between them. So we did try and do that. And also, it must be said, there is a slight element of tongue in cheek to the show that doesn't take itself too seriously. I mean, for a start, the first episode is in a British country house where there's a murder. I mean, it couldn't be any more textbook than that first episode, but that was very deliberate as a starting point for the audience to say, look, we're not going to intimidate you with obscure bits of narrative about Gothic art from Italian Renaissance. We're going to take you with us, and we're going to bring you with us and take you on this journey, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
So that was very important to us.
I like that when it in each episode. So like, when it comes down to the crime, it's just a crime. It's just
Yeah,
a valuable thing and a coveting in the moment and just a sad outcome. And trapped in all of this beauty. I think it makes a really fun dichotomy, fun two worlds to have a foot in each. Uh, One thing that I'd read in your bio, that you'd been involved as a writer over the years in ALCS and looking into copyright, that just being concerned about that. That's just part of being in it as a professional, I would think. And
mm.
I was curious on your take on, I guess the interview I'd read with you about that was from before the rise of the machines. Um, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I was a little bit curious how you feel about the where we've come in terms of copyright strikes. Has that changed at all? And what the new concerns might be for you looking forward. I also I know what the strikes look like here, but I'm not sure what that feels like in the industry across the pond
I
there.
think I think we are less proactive than the Americans. I think it's fair to say. But so my personal view, and I must stress this is personal, is that I understand that AI is where we're going. It's inevitable. It's where the tide is rising. But I do believe that we should have credit as creators for our work. And whether that's through a credit on screen or a credit in my bank account, I think that if people are making money through my work, then I deserve. I think it's only fair that I should get some kind of recompense for that. So I think, like a lot of writers, like ALCS, like the Writers Guild of Great Britain, we believe that yes, AI is a great, powerful tool. It's going to bring a lot of good to the world, but we need to be fair and we need to share. And I think that if you're using my work to power your software, then I think that should be recognised. So yeah, I'm aware that I don't want to be a luddite and I can't be King Canute shouting at the tide, but I think there's a right way for doing it. And at the moment, I'm not sure we've found that happy medium.
Yeah. Uh, you had mentioned something earlier that it also interested me, and we had talked very briefly about it at the fest. From over here, as viewers, I think Americans talk a lot about like, oh, that's British comedy, that's American comedy, and from a writing side, particularly on like Brazil nut style, as you would call it, comedy. Uh, how does that? Do you feel the difference in a joke structure in that sense? When you'd said you weren't entirely sure if it would translate, uh, what does that feel like for you as a writer when you're writing something? Do you think, that's too broad, that's not going to play here, or
We had to, well, we had to be true to ourselves, and we had to, because again, the worst thing you could do is try and be something you're not. You have to be authentic, and you have to. So really, we just had to put our trust that Acorn knew what they were doing, and they did. So we knew we had good guidance, we had good people to steer us. But actually, there was a very light touch. Actually, it seemed to be the fact that English, the Britishness, I should say, of the show is part of the appeal.
Mhm.
So actually, we had to just lean into it. But I do think, yeah, I mean, we all love American television. I mean, for years, I was obsessed with Seinfeld and the Larry Sanders Show. And now I'm obsessed with Hacks.
Mm.
So, we are, it's ingrained in us. We know American comedy, we know American style, and we love it. But at the same time, we're conscious that, we don't want to be pretenders. We want to leave that to the experts, and we'll bring our own, our own plate to the party. So yeah, we were conscious about trying to make sure we avoided certain words and certain places to make sure that it had an international appeal, not just America, but also international. But at the same time, I think the fact that they are British characters is very much part of the appeal. I mean, we made Mick very much a character who was a tea drinking, nervous, fidgety, awkward Englishman. It's fundamental to who he is. So we wanted again to lean into that and play to our strengths.
I did
And to
appreciate him
Stevens.
complaining about who would eat eel.
And I've got to say, okay, full credit to Stephen Moyer, who I think has really taken this role to a whole new level. I think he's really owned it and made it something that we never expected.
No, he fits.
He brought that nerdiness and that sort of enthusiasm, which I think really comes across as heartfelt and authentic, rather than, how can I describe it really? Yeah, it's not clumsy. Stephen is a very accurate, sensitive actor, and that really comes through in his portrayal as Mick.
No, I think this might be my favorite role I've seen him in since it's very different than True Blood, but he fits it perfectly. Obviously he's not a comfortable character, but he seems comfortable in that character, if that makes sense. Yeah, I absolutely enjoyed the 2 episodes, and I can't wait to see more.
Well, we do get, obviously there's 2 series arcs running through, and one is Mick's relationship with his dad, and then there's Mick's relationship with Rosa, the museum curator, and how they both kind of rise and fall over the series, but they come together at the end in quite a dramatic way. I'm very pleased with the finale. I think it's really strong.
I'm looking forward to it. I've enjoyed the bit of doling out about his father from the first episode of, oh, did you hear the rumor about? And then, well, gosh, what's that going to be? And then these little reels. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's got a nice amount of peppering that in. I really think it's fun.
Again, it's exploring that what makes you become this person, what makes you bury yourself away in 500-year-old paintings.
Right.
In this world of dust, apparently, and quiet and silence, and so that's why we really wanted to, explore that idea of the backstory. And again, what's great is we had this line, which is Mick can always spot a fake, except when it comes to one person, and that's his dad.
Yeah.
His dad is a fake,
Which is
and he knows that.
It's just a great elevator pitch on it. Just in a bubble right there. Uh,
Yeah, bless you, Liz.
One of the last things we talked about at Fest was some new records that you grabbed at Waterloo, and I wanted to ask what you got. What's on the player today?
Oh man, well look, I'm a huge Talking Heads fan. So in fact, on Saturday evening, I saw Jerry Harrison and Adrian Belew playing a set load of Talking Heads songs, which was brilliant. And in fact, while I was at Waterloo Records, I picked up a David Byrne solo album and a Jerry Harrison solo album. I was very happy with those.
Very cool.
And two Thomas Dolby records.
That's right. That's right.
I love Thomas Dolby. So yeah, again, a mix of American and classic British eccentrics. Seems to be my type.
Yeah, I think that works. Thank you so much for your time today, Paul. I really appreciate it. It was great chatting with you.
It's been really good. It was great meeting you and Austin, hanging out with you. That was great.
Yeah. Hopefully you make it back to ATX Fest and Acorn. After the show is a ripping success, you can come back and just take your victory lap. So do that.
Yeah, and we'll finally get to have that drink, I think.
Indeed.
Wonderful. Les, thank you so much for your time today.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.